So, with the new year of Football Manager upon us, I thought I'd see just how Football Manager see this year's Premier League going. So what we did, rather than taking one save and doing it through one simulation, I thought we'd do three. Why not? Let's widen the scope a little bit. And of course, you could do this many more times and then get really good averages, but I think three will be enough for now. So, let's take a look through them. This was the first simulation we did, and as you can see, Manchester City win the league. I think in terms of real life, people are expecting Manchester City to certainly be maybe at the top of the tree. Manchester United not far behind. I think Spurs are pushing pretty hard as well this season, and we'll see if that replicates itself throughout these then. You can see straight away, as mentioned, City top the table, Manchester United behind them, Chelsea third, Arsenal fourth, because of course they are, Spurs in fifth, and Liverpool in sixth. The relegated teams, though, Brighton, Huddersfield and Crystal Palace, two of the newly promoted sides down there, and of course Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace as it is now after the sacking before Frank de Boer, they suffered quite badly. Top goal scorers Sergio Aguero, Harry Kane and Romelu Lukaku, three familiar faces. We'll see if that continues throughout our other simulations, but they are scoring all the goals in Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, and surprisingly for me, Nemanja Matic with 13 assists this season, not known for his assist making, I think we can all agree, but was doing it for Manchester United in bucket loads in that particular year. You might be interested as well in the newly promoted clubs in this particular season. We'll look at this every single time as well. Aston Villa, Cardiff and Ipswich make a return to the Premier League as well. So there you are then. If you're interested in the Championship table, you can pause that there. Of course, what we're going to do is we'll look through all three of these and then we'll look for some averages of where teams finished and we'll come to some conclusions at the end. So, on to simulation number 2. As we load this one, it's interesting sometimes to look at the managerial changes. We'll look at it on this next one. We'll see if anything crazy happened. But first of all, the league table. So, if you can just find it. So you can see Manchester United this time top the table away from City rivals, and wow, look at the race for second even. Unbelievable. 3 teams finished on 79 points. Really interesting. Chelsea some way behind, 14 points behind in 5th position. West Ham break into the top 6, the supposedly unpenetrable top 6, and Spurs are the team to drop out in 7th. Still qualified for the Europa League this season, but not a particularly good year for them. Crystal Palace, Huddersfield, both were relegated in our first save, but this time actually both survive, and doing so relatively comfortably. Deadline day, sorry, not deadline day, the final day of the season must have been very interesting. We had teams there, 39, 38, 37 and 36 points. Burnley, Stoke and bottom of the table there, Brighton go down. And let's move our attention over then to the top goal scorers. A couple of names in there you probably wouldn't have recognised. Harry Kane, though, does top it. 22 goals, proving that he's super consistent this year of Football Manager, which is what you want to see. I think realistically that's what we're expecting from Harry Kane. We've seen it for a few years now. It's good that Football Manager replicates it in the same way. Speaking of Football Manager replicating things in the same way, Troy Deeney up in second place for Watford, and Mauro Icardi was 16. He must have signed for Arsenal, which I do think is a little bit interesting. Must have happened quite late on in the window, but 34 appearances for him, 16 goals, 51 million. Of course, if you didn't already know, I'm doing an Arsenal save on this channel, and Icardi won't be someone I sign. There's a spoiler for you. But there we are then. Icardi getting some goals for Arsenal. And it was enough to get them. I've just noticed they're 4th again. They enjoy 4th. Everton with their new manager. Should we see who it was on this occasion? It was Gerardo Martino took the reins. He's previously... Oh, this is a little bit different from previous years. He's been all over, really. He's done all sorts of bits and bobs, but mainly in South America, as well as a little spell at Atlanta United. But there you are then. Everton doing okay after Ronald Koeman. Crystal Palace staying up under Roy Hodgson, I assume. No, Gus Hiddink came in and took charge. Well, there you are then. And clearly got Palace out of the mess that they were put themselves in. If you take a look at manager movements, you can see there. Conte also left and Zidane was hired in March. You've got Scott Parker replacing Pochettino at Spurs. Okay then, fair enough. Frank de Boer was in charge of Leicester for a short time, and Ronald Koeman actually ended up at Stoke City, of all places. Craig Shakespeare also went in as Tony Pulis was sacked as well. West Brom fans, hashtag WBA. What do you make of that? Maybe we'll see that this year if there's a little bit more unrest at West Brom. But there you are then, a few managerial changes. Assists again, by the way. De Bruyne, Ozil, and Sadio Mane enters the top assist makers. Liverpool finishing second that season, having a really good time of it. And yeah, there we are then. Chelsea and Spurs drop out of the top 4. Not expecting that in the real life, but it happened in Football Manager. Right, on to the third and final simulation. Then we can look at some averages. Okay, third simulation, and I'm going to talk about it straight away because it's funny. Troy Deeney with 21 goals tops the top goal scorers. That's twice we've seen his name. Jermaine Defoe, new entry, in at number 2, gets 18 goals, and Harry Kane, I love that, Mr. Consistent, in there again with 17 goals. Juan Mata with the highest average rating, somewhat surprising, and had the most assists. David Silva and Mesut Ozil, I think 3 consistent playmakers in the Premier League over the years, so not that surprising to see those lot there. Petr Cech with 18 clean sheets, saw again, Arsenal came fourth again. They love it. Manchester United top the table though, 88 points, very closely behind them. Chelsea, we saw in the last simulation that Chelsea and Spurs didn't have the best of times, but this time both in the top four. Arsenal in fourth, Liverpool in fifth, and Manchester City, for some reason, ended up in sixth. We'll check managerial movements. We'll see if Pep Guardiola was dismissed. And for the teams that are relegated, then Crystal Palace went down with Stoke and Swansea. Everton not having the best of times. Does the same guy, Gus Hiddink this time, manager of Everton, and could keep them up again. He's just a survival man, is Gus Hiddink. He goes in, he fixes it. Let's take a look at some of the managerial movements then. Oh, some interesting ones. Alan Pardew took over at Swansea. We saw Mike Phelan and Aitor Karanka both take the reins at Stoke during the season. They went down. Roy Hodgson obviously was sacked, and Aguirre, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I recognise the name. Liverpool sacked Klopp, City sacked Guardiola for Luis Enrique. See there, Claude Puel came in for Leicester. Spurs again, Pochettino, and Jorge Jesus came in. What point in the season was that? 16th of December. I mean, on this occasion, it was the right decision. They got back into the top four. So not too bad at all. Right then, those are our three simulations. Interestingly, the promoted sides didn't go down all that much. In Newcastle, one of the promoted sides didn't go down at all. But let's look at some averages then. Average positions, and see how Football Manager, based on my three simulations, of course you can do this as well at home, you'll play your own seasons, how will they do based on the three seasons that we simulated? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look then. I don't know what's happened. As you can see from that then, based on our simulations, Manchester United, they won the league twice with an average position of 1.3. You'll notice a lot of 0.3s, 0.6s, just because we did three saves. That's how maths work. City and Chelsea not too far behind, both on 3.3. Arsenal, love that, no point required. Just fourth every season, and ended up in fourth position. Liverpool 4.3, just behind them. Spurs in fifth, that seventh place season, sort of hurt them a little bit there. West Ham, surprisingly, haven't started the season so well in real life, but in Football Manager have done very well. Seventh position might be a fun save to do. Maybe check out one of my Who to Manage videos coming soon. Maybe they'll be mentioned. Bournemouth in 9.6. That's really good for them. An average position though of 9.6. I guess that would technically be 8th though if you were looking at it in that way. Leicester in 11th. You got West Brom, Newcastle level pegging. The same applies for Everton and Southampton. Burnley survive, as do Huddersfield. Watford on 15.6. They've started the season really well. Clearly it doesn't translate quite as well, despite Troy Deeney's goals in the league. Maybe the defence isn't as good as they'd hope. Stoke on 16. Swansea, Crystal Palace level, but both finishing the bottom three. And Brighton in 20th with an average position of 18.3. So the likely outcome is, but Brighton will probably go down every single year, which is a bit disappointing. But there you are, Swansea, Palace and Brighton fans. Do you think that's fair? Do you think it'll go down? I think they're certainly contenders for it. And at the top of the table, Manchester United lead the way. That sixth position from City, of course, a different simulation, you get different results, but that sixth place from City clearly hurt them. They would have been up there with United, you would imagine. But there you are then, Manchester United, City, Chelsea, Arsenal. That's the Football Manager top four prediction. Liverpool in fifth, Spurs in sixth. I don't necessarily agree with that, even as a Liverpool fan. But there we are. I expect we'll see Spurs in the top three this season. And the other teams are not doing too badly. Everton stay up, and Newcastle probably the most surprising. I'm looking at that now. Newcastle probably the most surprising one. Then Huddersfield, obviously newly promoted. Both survived though, and they'll be really pleased with that, I'm sure. So if you're a fan of one of these teams, let me know what you think. Do you think this will be similar? I mean, and if you have anything funny happening in your FM saves, comment section, get involved. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, and for more Football Manager 2018 content, subscribe to the channel. We're Love with Care from me to mention. Until next time, goodbye.